Mali just beat the US at its own game. In 2 weeks, Mali challenged the US on a controversial visa policy and got the US to back down. The West African nation was added to the visa bond pilot. So anybody applying for a business or tourist visa had to pay a deposit, $10,000, maybe $15,000. So Mali said, we'll apply an identical policy. So any Americans applying for visas to Mali would pay the same. In 2 weeks, Mali was dropped from that list. All the other African nations on the list are still on that list, but not Mali. Tanzania, Sao Tome and Principe, the Gambia, Zambia, Malawi. But Mali, by challenging the US, got them to back down.
Hi lovelies and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome to Building the Verse. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
This is mad. The United States has just deleted Mali off its bond list for visas. According to Business Insider Africa, the United States has removed Mali from its controversial visa bond program, which I literally made a video about a couple days ago. But in short, the United States was trying to charge Mali $10,000 bond for every single Malian citizen who wants to come into the United States. But in response to that, the Malian government implemented a reciprocal policy to US citizens that want to come to Mali, aka they did the exact same thing. They did the exact same policy, and now the United States has done a reversal. However, the US visa bond program isn't completely gone, as it still applies to 6 African countries' citizens. But yeah, this is crazy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.
President Assimi Goïta just proved to the whole world that him and his citizens are united against all odds by sending a very strong message to them which says, "Dear compatriots, yes, the transition is difficult. We are facing fuel shortages and cowardly terrorist attacks and hateful speeches that aim to break our spirit. The trial is real, but we must not let this break our spirit. They are the price we must pay for the total independence of our nation." He also said we must reject hatred. Words of division are our worst enemy. Mali is all of us together, which is true. He said the citizens of Mali must support the efforts of the government and also help each other cope with the economic challenges and support FAMA, which is the security body fighting for their security as a nation. He also said the citizens of Mali must continue on this path of sovereignty because sovereignty is achievable, and let them not allow today's struggles make them forget tomorrow's greatness. That sooner or later these hardships will end and Mali will be fully sovereign and rise to be among the most developed nations in the world. Thank you so much, President Assimi Goïta. Well-meaning Africans across the globe believes on your mission and we support you. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section. Remember to take your safety and security into your own hands by going to Play Store today and downloading Echo, the #1 app that is assured of keeping you and your community safe and alert at all times. Also, follow our Telegram channel at Awakening Afro Consciousness to get the latest updates on everything that is happening all over the world, especially Africa, and so that you can see how the military in the Sahel are taking out these terrorists from their region on a daily basis.
The father of the Sahel Revolution, His Excellency General Assimi Goïta. That man is not to be played with. And October 9, 2025, Mali's Ministry of National Education ordered the immediate suspension of teaching the French Revolution of 1789 in all 9th grade classes. This decision is part of a curriculum reform pushing for more emphasis on African history, national identity, decolonization over traditionally Eurocentric content. Do you know how that makes my soul happy? I created a YouTube channel specifically to highlight African heroes. I want our kids to know about African history. So this is so monumental. And I hope that this goes beyond 9th graders. All our kids need to know about what the French did is what they did to us. It's colonialism. That's it. I don't care about what wars they fought with other European countries. We don't give a damn. Respectfully, of course. So Mali under Assimi Goïta has taken steps towards redefining educational content to reduce French influence. Okay, and we are here for it. Mon Général, you guys, let me know how you guys feel about this because this made my day. Talk to y'all soon.
Breaking news, Mali have imposed 10,000 visa bond for all USA citizens. From now on, if a USA citizen want to go to Mali, they must pay $10,000 in order to get a Malian visa. So this is after USA did the same. USA decided to add Mali on their visa controversial ban or program, which is pilot program. So Malian citizens, if they want to go to USA, they must pay $15,000 in order to get a USA visa. So USA, they stated that they want to cut off all those people that they are overstaying their visa. And these countries like Malawi, Zambia, Gambia, and now Mali, they have to pay $15,000 if they want to get a USA visa, a guarantee that they are going to return back to their own country. If they return back to their own country, the money will be returned. And now Mali, they are doing the same. If you do me, I do you. They stated that if any USA citizen, they want Malian visa, they must also do the same. They must pay the money in order to get a Malian visa. So the other African countries which they were added on this pilot program, that is Gambia, Malawi, and Zambia, they did not say anything at all. They just kept quiet and allowed the USA to do whatever they want. But Mali, Assimi Goïta, the president of Mali, is saying, no, if you do me good, I'm also going to do you good. If you do me bad, I will retaliate.
Mali just told the United States to pay $10,000 before setting foot in Africa. Now tell me who's the real boss here? Welcome back to my page, the voice that says what others are afraid to say. For years, America has been slapping visa bonds on Africans, calling it security. But now Mali has flipped the script, telling American citizens they must pay the same refundable bond before entering. And that, my people, is called self-respect. The Malian government says it's a fair response to the US's unilateral move. Washington did it first, claiming it was to protect their borders. Mali said, fine, protect yours, we'll protect ours too. This comes right after US officials visited Mali to discuss counterterrorism and investment in gold and lithium. But Bamako just reminded everyone that partnership must come with respect. This isn't just about visas, it's about dignity. For too long, African countries have been treated like we don't have the right to say no. But this generation of leaders, especially in the Sahel, is changing that. Mali is showing that Africa can demand equal treatment on the world stage. Africans, it's time to support leaders who stand up for our continent. Stop laughing at policies that defend us. Stop thinking small. Every time one African country stands tall, the rest of us must clap, not criticize.
Mali is a country that's facing several humanitarian crises, and honestly, we're a very poor country, but a country that's rich in dignity, rich in history, rich in resilience. And if there's something that Mali can teach the rest of its African counterparts, it's the fact that you don't just sit around and wait for somebody to respect you. Like, you need to demand your respect. For those of you who don't know, Mali and a few other African countries recently got put on a visa bond list by the Trump administration, which basically requires citizens of those countries to pay $5,000 to try to get into the United States. So Mali decided to retaliate and say that U.S. citizens trying to enter Mali would have to pay $10,000. And this was met with a lot of criticism and backlash. And honestly, a lot of it was from African people trying to be funny, right? Say things like, oh, who do Malians think they are? Like, what's in Mali? Who even goes to Mali? Blah, blah, blah. But guess what? We just got taken off that list. As African people, I want us to be extremely mindful of the ways in which we talk about ourselves and our other African peers. Because at the end of the day, why are we still playing into Western superiority? Why are we being complacent in our own oppression by allowing these people to think that they are bigger than the program? Because the reality is that there would be no United States as we know it if it wasn't for the Global South. There would be no Western world as we know it if it wasn't for the Global South.
Mali just told the United States to pay $10,000 before setting foot in Africa. $10,000. Now tell me, who is the real boss here? For decades, Africa has been treated like a classroom where the West does the teaching and the continent does the listening. But this week, money flipped that table. When the United States tried to impose a visa bond on Malian citizens, charging up to $10,000 just to apply for entry, Mali didn't just complain, they responded in kind. They told the United States, fine, your citizens will pay the same $10,000 before coming here. That right there is what sovereignty looks like. That is what equal treatment sounds like. Let's be honest, this isn't just about visas, it's about respect. It's about the centuries of old idea that Africa should always be the one obeying, apologizing, adjusting, but now the script has changed. This is about the new senile generation saying we are no one's underdogs. Mali, under President Assimi Goïta and the revolutionary leader of figures like General Assimi Goïta, is rewriting what it means to govern with dignity. When the US introduced its visa bond program under the Trump administration, it targeted African countries, Mali, Chad, Sudan, and others. The stated reason was to ensure visa compliances. In plain English, that meant Washington didn't trust Africans. They assumed we did overstay, we did run, we did disappear into the shadows of their cities. So they slapped a bond on us like we were criminals before even stepping into their country. But what happens when the so-called puppy mirrors the teacher? Mali simply took the same logic and reflected it back. If America can demand $10,000 from a Malian, then Mali can demand 10,000 from an American. That is fair, right? Reciprocity, mutual respect, equal exchange. And suddenly, that same policy became unreasonable, unfriendly, diplomatically risky. Now ask yourself, why is it friendly when Washington does it, but provocative when Bamako does it? This move forced the US to take a step back and quietly remove Mali from the bond list. They didn't make an announcement of regret or apology. They simply reversed course. But for Mali, the point has already been made. The message was clear. Africa will no longer beg for dignity. Now, the story goes deeper because just as Mali is making these moves on immigration, the same government is redefining education. They have suspended the teaching of the French Revolution in the ninth grade classrooms. That's monumental. For more than half a century, African children have been fed European history as if that is the root of civilization. Every generation memorized the names of French kings, European philosophers, and Europeans' wars, while forgetting their own ancestors, their own heroes, their own revolutions. Mali's new curriculum reform is saying enough. Enough of celebrating the oppressor's stories while ignoring our own. Enough of teaching our youth about the Gaulotai in Paris but not the empires of Ghana, Mali, and Sahel that ruled before France even existed. You see, this is part of a larger movement across the Sahel, from Niger to Burkina Faso to Mali. You have a generation of leaders emerging who are not seeking Western approval anymore. They are demanding respect, demanding ownership of their land, their minerals, their narrative, and make no mistake, this is what truly independence looks like. Not flag independence, not anthem independence, but mental and cultural independency. Now, some Africans still laugh at Mali. They say things like, who even goes there? They make jokes about poverty, about conflict, about that internalized colonial thinking. That is the leftover poison that tells us our worth must be measured through Western eyes. Because here's the truth. The poorest country with dignity is richer than the richest country with chance. Look at what Mali is sitting on. Gold, lithium, uranium, strategic minerals the world desperately needs for its energy transition. And yet, for years, foreign companies extracted them while Mali stayed at the bottom. Today, Mali is saying, if you want to invest, you will respect our sovereignty. No more secret contracts, no more colonial arrangement disguised as partnerships. That is why Western diplomats are suddenly nervous. They are realizing Africa is starting to know its worth. Let's zoom out. This visa policy is symbolic, is the new African diplomacy. Diplomacy that mirrors your treatment. You treat us as equal, we respond as equal. You impose conditions, we impose conditions. That is the world balance Africa should have demanded decades ago. When Goïta addressed his people, his words carried the tone of a man who knows he's in the storm but refuses to bow. He said, and I quote, "The trial is real, but we must not let this break our spirits. They are the price we must pay for total independence." That is not historic, that is revolution. Because every step towards sovereignty comes with hardship, economic sanctions, media smear campaigns, political isolation, but Mali has chosen dignity over comfort that is leadership. Now, the Western narrative will try to twist this. They will say Mali is anti-West, anti-democracy, militarized, but that is not the full picture. Mali is a pro-Mali. They are pro-Mali. They are pro-sovereignty, pro-self-determination, and if those values threaten Western control, then so be it. The average African must learn to see through propaganda. When the West praises a leader, it usually means that leader obeys them. When they demoralize a leader, it usually means that leader said no. Look at how they treated Thomas Sankara. Look at how they spoke about Gaddafi before 2011. Look at how they mock leaders like Gota and Traore today. It's the same script, but the new African is beginning to read between the lines. Now, think about this symbolism. The US removes Mali from the bond list after Mali implemented the reciprocal bond. That means Mali's stance worked. It wasn't just noise, it forced a reaction from the world's superpower. That is power. That is soft power, diplomatic power, psychological power, and that is how nations earn respect by standing firm. Let's talk about this deep layer. Education reform. By suspending the French Revolution from its curriculum, Mali is telling its students, you are not an extension of France, you are heirs of Massa Musa. They are telling kids, your story didn't begin with colonization. Colonization interrupted your story. This is critical because whoever teaches you history controls your future. For decades, France wrote African textbooks, they glorified their revolutions and erased ours. But now Mali is reclaiming its narrative, and this movement is contagious. Burkina Faso has already started rewriting its school programs to focus on local languages, African heroes, and Sahelian civilization. Niger has followed suit. We are witnessing the intellectual liberation of West Africa. Of course, the critics will say, but Africa will depend on aid. Yes, but what is the use of aid if it comes with humiliation? What is the point of development if it kills your identity? Mali's message is we will face hardship, but we will face it as free people. That is the only road to genuine progress. Let me remind you of something Sankara once said. Who he feeds you controls you. That is the Mali is rejecting the control. By refusing to bow to external pressure, they are choosing to own their destiny. Even inside Africa, this is sparking a debate. People are asking, should we all adopt this reciprocity model? Should African nations begin treating Western nations the way they treat us? Imagine if every African country introduced visa reciprocity. Imagine if African government demanded that Western diplomats disclose mining deals publicly. Imagine if African schools taught Africans victories before European wars. That is how the tide turns, not through violence but through mindset. Now here is something interesting. This policy came right after US involves visited Mali to discuss counter-terrorism and lithium investments. Lithium is the new oil, the mineral of the green future. So when Mali says, you will respect us or you won't touch our soil, that is a warning shot heard across the globe. They are reminding everyone that Africa isn't desperate anymore, it's strategic. For too long, Africa has been begging for partnerships. Now it's setting the patterns. And yes, that will upset the usual power balance, but that is the price of freedom. Every generation must pay its share of that price. To all Africans listening, don't downplay these moments. These are not small moves. These are historical corrections because once upon a time, it was unthinkable for an African country to challenge Western policy directly. Now it's becoming normal, and when something becomes normal, it becomes unstoppable. Mali is teaching us something profound, that respect is not requested, it's required. If a nation wants equality, it must be willing to risk disapproval. If a people want dignity, they must be willing to endure discomfort. So when people ask, who does Mali think they are? The answer is simple. They are who they have always been. Descendants of kings, scholars, warriors, and traders who built empires with while Europe was still learning to read. That is who Mali is. When you look at what is happening today, the visa policy, the curriculum reform, the regional alliances, you can see Africa entering a new era. The colonial handshake is finally being released. The political language is shifted from dependency to dignity. So yes, this story about a $10,000 visa bond is funny on the surface, but beneath it lies a serious awakening. It's a statement that the days of one-sided respect are over. From here on out, diplomacy is a two-way street, and Mali just became the traffic controller.
And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. Alright, lovely. See you when I upload the next video.